Yo, book nerds. Today we're doing something that I don't do very often. I have a TBR list for you, and I actually will be reading these very soon. So normally I am a mood reader, and so I don't typically make TBR lists, and when I do, it's more for classification purposes. I'm letting you guys know what's on my physical TBR in this kind of a category, because eventually I will read all of them. And sometimes I do challenges where I create a TBR and then I try to read so many from that particular list. So typically I'm not reading all of them super soon, but just reading maybe a few of them in a relatively quick amount of time. But today is different. Even though I am a mood reader, I actually know what I'm going to be reading for the next few months. At least some of what I'll be reading. So I'm going to tell you about it, and then if you feel like picking any of these up, you are more than welcome to, and I would love to have a conversation with you about these books once I am done reading them all. So as you may know, I recently finished reading the Iliad. Loved it. If you haven't seen my review video, go check that out. But I loved that book. It was so great. And I am currently reading the Odyssey by Homer now. So I am finishing up that duology, and this is what I'm currently reading. So you can expect a review for this soon. I also want to mention that in my student teaching right now, I have 2 classes that are reading books right now that I have already read, and I am not rereading them. I am reading some sections to refresh my memory, but I am not actively rereading these 2 books. But I don't have reviews for either of these 2 books on my channel, so I am probably going to post reviews for them. So I want to mention them quickly here in case you want to join in on the conversation for these as well. I'm not counting these books towards my goals for the year because, again, I'm not actually rereading them right now, but my classes are rereading them, and I'm enjoying having discussion with them about these books, and I want to extend that discussion to you. So up first is Beowulf. We do not know who wrote this, but Beowulf, I read this during the COVID lockdown. And so one of my classes for student teaching, they are reading this right now. And so it's been a refresher for me. Would love to talk to you guys about Beowulf. And then another one of my classes for student teaching is reading Hamlet by Shakespeare. So I have a couple other reviews for some Shakespeare plays on my channel, but I don't have one specifically for Hamlet. So I would love to add this to the discussion because I love Shakespeare. I read this, I don't even know. I've read it twice. I read it once in undergrad, and then I reread it a couple years after I graduated undergrad. I don't remember exactly when, but I have read this twice. So I would love to talk about it with you guys. Now that we got those 3 books out of the way, the kind of my current reads and ones my classes are reading, now we'll get into my actual TBR. So I'm calling this my Spring 2025 TBR because even though it's not quite spring right now, my reading pace is really slow right now because of student teaching, because of preparing for the EdTPA. I don't have a lot of time to read, so I am not anticipating that I will get to these books until either closer to spring or spring, but I will be getting to them. So because of reading Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey, I am just like in an ancient Greek classics mood, and I just want to keep with that momentum. And so I am going to reread the Oresteia by Aeschylus. I read this in undergrad, but at the time I obviously hadn't read the Iliad or the Odyssey, and I didn't know the background, and I feel like I will understand it and appreciate it a lot better now. Honestly, I've forgotten a lot of it anyway, so even though this is a reread, I feel like it's going to be almost like I'm reading it from scratch, like I never had read it before. There's like a couple things I remember from it, but otherwise like I don't remember anything. This is a series of 3 Greek plays, which are Agamemnon, the Libation Bearers, and the Eumenides. So 3 ancient Greek plays that make up the Oresteia. So I will be reading this after I finish the Odyssey. Again, continuing on with that momentum with these ancient Greek classics, I want to read the Aeneid by Virgil. This is kind of considered an answer to Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey. It's not a part of the duology because it wasn't written by Homer, but it's an answer to those works, so I want to read it. I basically just know that it's about Aeneas, and that's all I got. That's all I know. After the Trojan War, that's all I know about it. And so I will be picking this up in the near future. After I read those, I am going to stop with the ancient Greek classics. I would love to keep reading more ancient Greek classics in the future, but I think after reading these, I'll have 4 ancient Greek classics under my belt for this year alone, and I'm going to switch gears. And so that's where this next one comes in. Like, I know I want to read this, and I've wanted to read it for a few years. So I'm just saying, like, after I'm done with these ancient Greek classics, I am picking this up. And that is The Jungle Books by Rudyard Kipling. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I apologize if I'm not. You guys have heard me say before that we like Disney in this house. We do a lot of like Disney themed birthday parties for my kids. And for my baby, we are planning to do a Wild One / Jungle Book birthday because I love Baloo and Bagheera and all the characters from the Disney movie, Mowgli. But before we have that birthday party, I would like to actually read the Jungle Books because I'm sure this is way different than the Disney movie. They always are. I have read so many books that Disney has made adaptations from that are nothing like it, like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Cinderella, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland. Like, the list goes on. I've read more adaptations, but I want to add this to the list. I want to know where the original came from, and so this is what I will be reading. After this, honestly, I don't know what I will be reading after the Jungle Books. This is where my TBR ends. So these are the books that I am committing to and am for sure going to read. I'm thinking after the Jungle Books, I'm probably going to need a break from classics because after reading so many ancient Greek classics and then reading another classic after that, I feel like I'll probably need a break and need to read something modern. I don't know what that will be. So that will be decided later. But if you want to join me in reading any of these books, feel free. I would love to have more people reading these and talking with me about them. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will talk to you next Monday. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.